Tonight, we celebrate and honor 8 extraordinary individuals who have given of themselves to make this happen so that we may benefit and grow towards an even better South Dakota. My hearty congratulations to all of tonight's award recipients and to you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dale, for this eloquent State of the Arts address. And it should be mentioned, too, that tonight's awards that we're going to be giving out were made by Dale, and these are stainless steel fragments from the Dignity Monument. The awards are beautiful. They flow from an incredibly important South Dakota monument. They are truly works of art in their own right. So thank you again, Dale. So now we turn our attention to the main event, honoring tonight's amazing award winners. Up next is outstanding support of the arts by an individual. As an actor, musician, technician, fundraiser, board member and board leader, workshop presenter, nonprofit arts consultant, and arts producer, Brian Bonde has elevated the arts in South Dakota through his nationally, regionally, statewide, and in his community. As a board member and as a past chair of the South Dakota Arts Council, and as the co-founder, board member, and past chair of Arts South Dakota, Bonde has spent thousands of volunteer hours creating policies and programs to help South Dakota arts organizations and its artists. As a board member, as a workshop presenter and consultant, his knowledge of nonprofit management, fundraising, and advertising has elevated his level, or the level of operations of numerous arts organizations in our state and across our whole region. Bonde is past president of the board of the Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society, the Sioux Falls Arts Council, and the Sioux Falls Community Playhouse. He is a co-founder of Jazz Fest in Sioux Falls and has served on the boards of the Washington Pavilion Performing Arts Center, the Black Hills Playhouse, and the historic Orpheum Theater. He is a current board member of Arts Midwest, a 9-state regional arts organization of which South Dakota is a member. With his talented wife, Kaya, Brian founded the Comfort Theater Company, a Midwest professional touring entertainment company in 1997. And among their accomplishments are years of touring the production Always Patsy Cline and performances with numerous musical groups, including East of Westerville. Bonde, who has raised over $200 million for nonprofit organizations, that bears repeating. Bonde, who has raised over $200 million for nonprofit organizations. He is known nationally as past chair of the board of the U.S. Association of Fundraising Professionals, Foundation for Philanthropy, and board membership of the AFP Global Board, Canadian and Mexican Foundations, and as a board member and past president of South Dakota Association of Fundraising Professionals. Please join me in congratulating Brian Bonde.
It's heavy.
Thank you. Dale, Jim, Patrick, fantastic night. Thank you all for being here. And to my fellow recipients, congratulations. It's an honor to be in your company. For the reward, I finally get a Dale Lamphere. I say thank you. That's from the heart. Thank you. Thank you to my family. Thank you to my partner in Klein. My artistic wife, Kaya, my muse and collaborator. A partnership formed in the arts. We met on stage. We got married on stage. And then an hour goes by when there's not a song, a dream, or an artistic hope that we don't share together. And the most beautiful voice in South Dakota. I'm a little choked up because 1 year ago today, Kai and I were in a doctor's office at Mayo Clinic. And we heard the words, Kaya has MS. You know what she wanted to do? She wanted to go see the Chihuahua glass sculpture. Art saves lives. Art heals. To my creative son Elijah, who's sitting over there, last couple of Governor's Awards, we've been doing the lights and the sound, and he's been the roadie. And to my other children, Susanna and Aaron, who couldn't be here tonight, thank you. This is as much my family's award as mine, because somebody stays behind when somebody's going to a board meeting or to an event, so I thank you for the time. To all the givers of this award, the South Dakota Arts Council, Arts South Dakota, I say thank you. You know, at this event, not very long ago, we weren't sure if there was going to be a state arts advocacy organization. And I want to say thank you to Janet Brown and Dale Lamphere and Ellen Lee and Mike Pangburn and Jim Hagan and Denny Dugard for taking my calls and coming together so we could make from the wonderful history of soda a new organization thriving, which is now Arts South Dakota. And I want to say thanks to Jim for taking a leap I'm not sure I would have taken, of leaving a job you know you've got to this thing that we were creating. And I want to say thanks to Sherry, wherever you went. I mean, I feel like I should be over there with her, sitting beside her like I usually am at this event. But thank you for staying and believing. And thanks to Andrew and thanks to Sarah for coming along. I also want to say thanks to the current board for your dedication. I crashed the board meeting this morning for a little while so I could say hi to everybody. And it was fun to see the work continue. These are delicate times. And I thank you for being so diligent. Thanks too to Janet for the nomination, and to Ellen and Jane Rasmussen and Kenny Putnam and David Ferrer of Arts Midwest for the humbling letters of endorsement. I cried for days. We are all here tonight celebrating because someone passed art on to us. I remember being at this event for the first time, and I was talking to Steve Thurman this morning about when that was, and it was 35 years ago. I remember being at Riggs and seeing Dennis Holub and Charlotte Carver giving an honor to Charlotte and just saying to myself, how cool is this arts thing? This might be something that might be worthwhile. I didn't know either one of them, and who knew that they would become such friends and such mentors. And then I looked this morning at some of the others who have received this award. The first thing I noticed was they were all really old. And my wife reminded me, no, that's how old we are now. But J. Earl Lee, Art Husebo were teachers of mine at Augustana. And then my creative friends with big ideas who've gotten this award, people like Donna Felstead and Jim Clark and Janet Brown and Graham and Anna Marie Thatcher. Thank you for it. What an honor to be in the company of this gang, and I think of other South Dakota arts advocates who've been such an impact on me, like my mother-in-law, Norma Brink Samuelson, and B. Premack, and Ruth Brennan, and Don Montello, and Jim Walker, and so many others. We stand on the shoulders of giants. I want to thank my brother Dave and Linda, who are here tonight, and for all the years they gave me a free place to stay in Pierre so I could stay and go to all of these arts meetings, and for being Sergeant of Arms and helping us and making the day so great in the Senate today. And my other siblings who are watching online, I hear all of you singing with my mother Buffy at the piano in the living room, while my father is painting signs in the basement of Bonde's V-Store in Flandreau when he's selling things like Lee jeans and shoes and socks, when I know he just as well have been painting South Dakota landscapes. My parents taught us to think on both sides of our brains, that art is not something that was thrust upon us as kids. It was something that simply surrounded us at all times. What could we do but absorb it in our pores? And it was passed on. That's the kind of environment we must give to all children, at home and at school. I called that a reward because none of us in the arts think about getting an award. We are all in this together. Arts isn't a competition. We rehearse, we practice, we learn, we hone, mostly alone. We woodshed. And then we come together and share our humanity. Arts is a transformation. We have some calligraphy on our wall at home that was done by Don Leifson. It's a quote from Picasso that says, "Art is not the truth, it is a lie that makes us realize the truth." For most of us, art is a vocation. It calls us inexplicably. Most of us would do it for free if we had some way to eat. And you know, some places in this country, art can be a career. And we need to create an environment here in South Dakota where more and more people can have a career making their art. But art survives. We are renewed in the arts in our state at every level. I grew up as a South Dakotan, and I was absorbed it in my pores. The beauty of the Santee Sioux powwows had a powerful impact on me as a kid. I've seen Broadway musicals at the Pavilion. I've seen amazing visual art at Red Cloud. I've played guitar in the music circle at the Moonshine Gulch Saloon in Rochford. And Kaya said on many occasions, we've played every place in South Dakota where you can push two tables together and call it a stage. I remember the night after 9/11 when in Lake Preston the crowd spontaneously sang "God Bless America" before the show. And we all cried together. Or in Parker, where the community built a stage for us using parts that a farmer donated from his pole barn that was being constructed nearby. And when it got dark, they just turned the headlights on of some strategically placed pickups that were at the back of the space. Or that night in Centerville, a woman came up to me after a Patsy show in tears because she'd never seen a musical before. Or the night the potluck warmers blew all the fuses at the VFW in Gettysburg, and we had to take extension cords and run it out the back door, down the alley, and back into the bar down the street. And they were happy to do that to let us continue the show. That's art in South Dakota. And even today, I'm even more grateful for the next show. And I think about it, and I want to thank our musical collaborators. Of course, Kaya, Boyd Bristow is back here. Larry Rohr, Kenny Putnam, Al Slothog not here, Owen DeYoung, and so many more. Thank you for the music. When you reach a moment like this, you may not be riding off into the sunset, but you can see it from here. You look forward and you look back, and because of the Association of the Arts, I look over a room like this and I see lots of friends, and I think of lots of friendships, and I hope you do too. I'm mainly here because I sat through a lot of board meetings. Lots and lots of board meetings. But I don't remember a single one. I do remember people working hard to provide opportunities for artists, doing serious work, changing the lives of people that they'll never meet, and making a way for artists to do their art, realizing it's the air we breathe. So as the sunset gets closer, I realize what a delicate time this is. We have to be diligent. Those things that we think are here forever require tender, loving care. Last week, we saw the sun go down on the Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society. I'd emceed 20 jazz fests, and I got to look over crowds of 80,000 people or more. I got to meet people like Joe Walsh and Sheryl Crow and Andra Day and Neville Brothers. I wish the Jazz Diversity Project was still in South Dakota schools. You know, and not even long ago, the Arts Council was on the verge of disappearing. We have to be diligent. In his book, Stephen Pressfield talks about how Henry Fonda was even throwing up before stage performances even when he was 75 years old. But in other words, fear doesn't go away, and the warrior and the artist live by the same code of necessity, which dictates that the battle must be fought every day. But you know what? Jazz and blues may be gone, but thankfully now there's a Levitt in Sioux Falls. I remember the first meeting we had in Tom Dempster's kitchen, and now we have Nancy Helverson making all these things happen. Nurture the new, rebuild the old, support new artists with different paradigms. You know, the public-private arts movement in South Dakota is nearly 50 years old, but our traditional responses don't work for the young artists the way they used to. I see this organic growth of arts, especially what I see in Sioux Falls, And I see artists finally being recognized, more diverse artists being supported for their work. We've got to figure out new paradigms in what we do to support those artists. So what do? We have a 26-year-old son with severe cognitive disabilities. And when he was young, Kaya talked to her mother, not knowing what to do. And Norma, some of you know Norma, or knew Norma, she said, advocates aren't born. They are made, and you can be one. So we need to do what art supporters should do. Buy local art. Give time. And I have to say, because I'm a fundraiser, give money. And go to the concert and see the play, of course. Yes, we know that. But think about bringing somebody influential with you, a legislator or a city council person, and show them what quality of life really means and that art is economic development. Share your stories, find the artists, find the opportunity, make it easier for someone else, and listen to new music, embrace the creative and open minds. Most of all, find a way to make your own art. Kaya reminded me of the moment in the 1991 Sioux River Folk Festival when I wrote a little teeny contract on a little teeny piece of paper. It said, we will have a band and we will play Folk Fest. And thus became Always Patsy Cline and Easter Westerville and the Comfort Theater Company. The other thing I've remembered that Kaya was talking about, and I don't know if you remember this, Dale. Dale and Kaya and Jane and I were having lunch at Crave in Sioux Falls, and Dale grabs a napkin and he sketches this arc. And he says, they want something to go over the river with a guy on a bicycle, but I'm thinking something like this. What do you think? Wow. And we wonder why we left the napkin sitting on the table. But art happens when you least expect it. Be open to it, be diligent, pass it on, and thank you for this and so many rewards.